188.
Top page 188. What we're talking about is that the
The Shalom is up. Yeah, but I think we need to have a repeat from last time, because we finished up last time with the tzvi goes backwards. What it means
right.
that
So
Paraim, you
it's
could
very
see, you
beautiful
can't
muscle.
see. It's very deep.
Okay, again. Right. So here's the analogy. The analogy is you have a deer, and the deer has a specific quality that he can turn around 180 degrees.
His head.
We can turn 90 degrees. This way, that way. You can't go further, right? That means you're not able to see what's behind you. So Hashem says, I'm going to become like a tzvi. What does it mean, like a tzvi? That I'm able to turn around and see, but I'm able to turn myself all the way around. What's 180 degrees? What's the opposite of Hashem? Ki'ilu, kivyochel. The answer is achiraim, physicality, materialism. That's the opposite of Hashem. So Hashem is revealed, and in Gashmias, he's concealed. So can Hashem turn around and Heshiv Ocher Yeminoi, and his right hand, his revelation, is in the Achiraim, meaning in physicality? That's the question.
There should be a Gilui in the Gashmias.
Exactly.
So I can turn around all the way. I can't take my head and turn. If I'm going forward, I can't take my head and turn around. Only 90 degrees, like you said, not even 90 degrees.
Right.
Hashem can turn Tzvi can turn his head all the way back, which means he makes in the Acharaim the Pneumius. Or you see the Gilui of the Pneumius in the Acharaim.
Correct.
So
exactly.
What does it mean in our language?
It means that
in
not
reality,
only
what's the Mashiach language?
Again, it's today's Tanya. You saw today's Tanya? Today's Tanya says like this. If a person davens and learns, so he says, well, first he goes back. Emunah is absolute divine. So the world blocks Hashem, Emunah unblocks. Okay? And then he says that, okay, but how do you expand the Emunah? How do you live with Emunah? So the answer is, there were people like Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the Nevi'im and Moshe Rabbeinu were able to do so. Now, I don't know how to do that. I can't live with Emunah. Right? So he says, yeah, but it's not true. You could, because you can learn. Hashem took the Shekhinah and housed it in we got it from Hashem housed it in the Mishkan. Okay. Then he said, and how do you have the Mishkan today and we don't have a base of Mikdash? The answer is in Dalad Amashal Halacha. So when a person decides to learn Halacha morning and evening, what is he doing? He's becoming a conduit to the Shekhinah, to divine energy. That's what he's doing. Shekhinah is being expressed through him. That's what's going on, right?
Right.
So
what do you do the rest of the day? That's what it talks about today.
Right.
What do you do the rest of the day?
Yeah. First of all, you have more time to learn, use that time. Then he says, actually, when you give away 20% to tzedakah, it elevates the other 80. So when you're using Hashem in certain moments, then Hashem is expanded into the rest of time. That's what's beautiful about it, right? Everything becomes godly and divine. It's spectacular. So in other words, not only is the time that you're spending actually on divine, but even the time you're spending on business, that also becomes holy.
Awesome.
Right? So it literally becomes a lokus, and that's what he's saying here, the same thing. That when you're learning Gemara, and you're learning about, or halacha in this case, you're learning about whatever halacha you're learning, that halacha becomes holy. So there's a physical activity that you're doing. That's what we were talking about yesterday, right? That there's look, on line 4, an agent who switches a donkey for a cow. So there's two parts. There's the agent who's doing the work, and there's the yid who's learning the Torah of how to do the work. A butcher. He's chopping an animal to pieces, and he is in the intestines of the animal. That's what he's occupied in. What is he? Who cuts off? What he is a butcher, nothing else. Someone is occupied with learning the halachas of the to separate between a kosher and a treif animal. When you're learning about switching, what's it called? What's right and what's wrong about a machlif par b'chamor b'chein b'seder tires ben tomid Torah. You're learning about tumah b'tara. Chein b'chol shas mishnah gemara b'chol aposkim b'shaynim v'achreinim v'sgalo v'sbarer rotzen v'elim v'chachmas yisbarach. You're revealing the desire of Hashem and Hashem's wisdom. And then the bad and the good are separated. You're separating good from bad, right from wrong, etc. So in other words, that's what I'm saying. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. You would think that a Jew has to be someone who's completely bazundet von Welt. He's separated from the world. What does that mean? He's totally, he's a holy Jew. So he's thinking about Inyonei Kedusha. You would think as a guy who's learning Chassidus and whatever, great. But really, the Jew comes in and he says, I want to know, what's this food made of? I want to know, it goes into the kitchen, when you put the spice in, is the spice the main part or the side part? What does the spice do? What does the salt do? How much spice do you need? It's like nitty-gritty questions about, you have to become a culinary expert to be a Yid, right? It's really what it is. And it's mamish like, and then you have to know, you have to become you have to know, understand exactly for Hilchos Shabbos, how does the boiler work? What does it do? How does the water come in? Where does it go? And every little detail in life, you have to know exactly what it is to understand. Are you carrying on Shabbos or are you not? Every little detail. So you're learning the physicality, but you're not, because the one guy is a plumber, and the other guy is a chef, and you are an agent, a broker. And what are you? You're a Yid who's revealing Elokus in the world. You're bringing Hashem into the back end. So to mitzvahs ma'asiyos, like going Shem Rabbi, there's part of Litan Proto Leoni. It's dependent on the midah of how much you're supposed to commensurate, how much you're meant to doing it. Like a guy who's looking after an Aveda. So he found something. Halacha is that he found something and he's guarding it and protecting it. He's part from giving tzedakah at the same time. Why? What's the halacha? If he's looking after the Aveda, so he found a book, and you have to open up the book made out of parchment. He's opening it up in order that it shouldn't be moldy. So he's doing it for its sake. But if he's doing it for his sake, he uses it for himself, no good. It makes no difference if the person who was lost from is a rich or poor man. You look at the same thing. If you are taking your garment and you're looking after your garment, what's the deal? If someone comes over to you and asks for money, you have to give him money because you're not doing a mitzvah. But if it's someone else's, even if I'm a pauper and the other guy's a wealthy guy, but because I'm protecting his Aveda, now it's a mitzvah. See what he's getting at? He's talking about the same exact action. So before he was talking about a butcher who's chopping up the meat, and the chef was chopping up the carving station. He's just a chef or a butcher, nothing else. But what are you? You who learning it, you are a godly being revealing Elokus in this thing. And al derech zeh, if you're looking after your own clothing, you're just protecting your clothing. If you're looking after someone else's, what are you doing? Wow, you're looking after an Aveda, that's a mitzvah. Amazing. So if I am running an errand for you, right? I always, you're not supposed to when you're doing what's it called? When you're doing a mitzvah, so you never want to push your kids, right? And things they can't do. But it just doesn't cease to amaze me. Last night I was in shul and I came back home, and I was a bit adali odadik. So I told my son I left something back in shul. And I was thinking as he said it that, if I go back and get it, it's just me going back to get it. You go back and get it, you're possibly getting a long life.
It's a mitzvah.
It's the same exact action you're doing, right? We're both. I'm going there and getting it. You're doing a mitzvah. You're doing a mitzvah of kibbutz, and you're doing a mitzvah of that. So that becomes the physical act gets an energy of elokus in it. That's what he's getting
So I
at.
have a good idea. I always drive, do a lot of driving in Lakewood to go from one place to another, go to the grocery store. So if you go to the grocery, you pick up a few people and give them a ride. You just don't just give them a ride to the next corner, take them where they have to go. So your whole going in the car is a mitzvah. The mitzvah vehicle. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Just to start Chesed Mabrius.
The example he used to use by us is when a guy goes on shlichus, right? So he goes on shlichus. Imagine a guy on shlichus in, he goes to Idaho. So in Idaho, if you're from Yid, so he needs his wife asked him to go to the CVS or Rite Aid, Allah Shalom, whatever, and get what's it called? Get some diapers, right? He goes there. Over there, some meets him, and he happens to see him because he went to buy diapers. So essentially, whatever you're doing when you're in a shliach is all the whole thing from beginning to end is a mitzvah, is avodas Hashem. It's all the shlichus.
Okay, but he's a shliach. That's for me and you that are living in another place, let's say called shlichus. If you're in shlichus, you're every second of your day you're doing mitzvahs. Why are you there for? For your own comfortability, why are you going to CVS? You can have a kosher corner grocery around the corner. So if you're there in shlichus, every second you're there to a Jew sees you.
So
He sees the Yid with
them. So be'emes is applicable to every single Jew.
Every Jew there.
It's every
you go to a store, if you see a Yid didn't put on film, put on film for him. So every Jew did it. You don't have to go to Idol for that.
So your whole interaction, it's a mindset. It's not being in Idaho. You could be in Idaho and not be a shliach, and you could be in it's a mindset. The mindset that I'm not doing the physical thing. It's a lokus that's being revealed. That's what it is. So too, very nice. I have a big veer, right? I'm a wealthy guy, and I'm protecting his clothing. So if I'm looking after your clothing, that's a mitzvah. If I'm looking after my clothing, it's not a mitzvah. It's just looking after your clothing. If you're doing chesed with someone else, it's a mitzvah. You might say it's okay, it's a mitzvah. So when you're doing a mitzvah with a physical action, what is it? What you're doing is transforming darkness into light. You're bringing light to a dark place. You're transforming the darkness and bringing light into it. So, okay. So in this paragraph, what did we just learn? We learned this idea that the deer turns his head around in 180 degrees. And what it means is that Hashem, there's Ponim and Ocher, right? Ponim is this way, where your face is. Ocher is where your back is. Ponim is where you have Elokus revealed. Ponim di Bashem Imachem. Ocher is where Elokus is concealed. And generally, the two of them are opposite forces. So generally, you'll say that, I saw today in the blue Tanya, the over there, he says, Yasa Kashya. And he says, the Alter Rebbe, today's Tanya ends as two dots, a colon, right? Before he starts the Tanya. So the Alter Rebbe wanted to know why do you have two dots there? And he explained that the two dots, what two dots is, it says it's an end of something. And then the Kudah that he says is that there's two pieces he says. Before the two dots, the Alter Rebbe is talking about, he's talking about a person who decides to learn Torah in the morning and in the evening. When you're learning Torah, you become a conduit to Hashem. Shechina is manifesting itself through you. That's what's going on when you're learning Torah. Then he has the colon. Boom. And now he says, let's talk about something else. So about a guy who gives tzedakah, and the 20% is holy. But then the 80% also becomes holy. So if you learn Torah morning and evening, then the whole sandwich of a day becomes holy. If you give tzedakah 20%, then the other 80% also becomes holy. Why is there a colon there? Because it's not the same level of holiness. It's just not the same, right? In other words, the one is absolutely revealed, divine manifestation when you're learning Torah or giving tzedakah, and the other one is still, as much as it's being elevated, but still you're not actually learning Torah. You're doing something for Torah. So it's like machshire mitzvah versus the mitzvah itself. I don't know if I'm right, but to me it seems like over here he's saying no. Hey Shivachar, it means The opposite, right? That the
The
physical
opposite.
becomes holy. What?
I'm holding the Tanya in front of me. Where did he say that?
The blue one?
The blue one, yeah.
The last piece from yesterday.
I see Asher Hashem Eloi with 2 colons. Who on the bottom? Where do you see that part?
At the bottom, the long piece on the bottom. Look at it.
Starting from the page
It
before.
starts on yesterday. It'll take you a while.
What do we say? What are we saying? There's the other 80% is just not going to ever be on that same level as the 20. So why are we saying that? Why is that a thing?
No, he's saying it's very holy, it's very nice, it's elevated, but it's not on the same level. It's not quite on the same level as absolute revelation.
That's so disheartening. Like that the whole piece of Tanya, that whole quote is saying that it's 100%, even if you spend it on a Ferrari. Like that's the whole point of spending the 20. Like, doesn't that make the same thing with the time and the learning? And like, if you think about that, your day, you're spending about 20% of your day with Kedusha and the rest. Okay, yeah, Shish Yisrael Tavid, you're doing the best you can.
Yeah,
You sandwich it
you
in.
can't argue. But one second. It's not disheartening at all, because you still need, right? You can't compare the time in your day when you're opening up a Maimer Chassidus and learning it to the time in your day when you're doing physical things. I mean,
it's like therapy versus like, the anxiety. It's like you're jumping in, 100%. You feel, if you take advantage of it, you feel like you're immersed, like you don't have the Mayim Rabim anymore. You're taking it 100% physical. But I guess the consolation.
But there's still a point of revelation versus there's still Elokus revealed in when you're learning right now. You're learning Elokus, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know about you. If I could, I'd do this all day long.
I agree. My wife always says if you can go to shul 4 times, you would get extra credit.
Right. So it's not the same. Now, is it disheartening? Oh, it's not disheartening. It's just a fact.
Perhaps I'm wrong. My consolation was that during the time that I'm in Tirdus Parnassa, or whatever dealing with at home,
that's
my
today's
feeling
Tanya
is that was
today's Tanya is very holy.
elevated.
But 1 second. But in the Torah here, I think he takes it. I don't know if I'm right. Maybe the Tanya is also saying that. But in the Torah, he's taking it a step further for sure. He's saying that if I'm going to learn the halachas of plumbing, and I'm going to learn how you make food and the culinary chef, that if I'm learning it in Torah, it literally becomes a locus. So I'm not working anymore. I'm not the agent. See, the agent who's an agent is an agent. But when you learn Torah about the agent, it's not an agent, it's now Torah. So that's the Heshibach, meaning that the right side goes all the way into it. The whole thing becomes a locus.
This sounds like Libi Chalo Bekirbi on some level, but it doesn't sound like completely Chalo.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still confused. I'm sorry. If it's Libi Chalo Bekirbi, the whole 80% is now Chalo. So how could it be? It's not on the same level. Now, my consolation was like, when you say you give tzedakah, you feel godly, right? Like that's the being the Abish. That's what the Abish, Ata Rachum, Hu Rachum, like that concept. Right. We feel a little bit, but when we're sitting and I don't know, whatever, I can't say by learning Torah, but like something else, we don't feel, let's say, you try to feel like putting on tefillin. You don't feel what really is happening there. So the consolation is there is a cosmic effect going on. There is something, and one day we'll understand it. But here, I thought that the 80% really is coming to Kedusha. We just don't feel it because of Tirdus Parnassa. Like that's the Welt. That's what we have to live in. It's Gashmias.
You just said it, right? You just said you don't feel it.
Okay.
You don't feel it. That is the issue. You don't have the feeling, right? And we're talking about having the feeling. That feeling is the key.
So, but what was the question about the colon? You're saying it really isn't.
You know what? Wait for this piece over here. I think you might
continue.
be answering. I think you might be answering.
I'm not trying to make
right
trouble.
Now.
I promise.
Look at this piece now. V'zeu hine ze oimed achar kosleinu. So we had this in the other Maimer we learned. Where was it? Remember we said this pasuk over there. Which Maimer was it? This one, ze is a revealed of Hashem. Oimed is standing behind the wall, behind the package. What?
We learned this by the tzitz. Meitzim and Charakim.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's this one, yeah. Yes. Pirush, bechinas chochmos eretzoyne yisborech, ubechinas isgalas, ubechinas zeh. When I say zeh, so Moshe Rabbeinu says zeh adobar. Every other Navi says koyamar Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu says zeh. Moshe Rabbeinu sees Elokus b'muchash revealed. So zeh, which is an absolute revelation of Elokus, ubechinas isgalas, ubechinas zeh binyon yateram. Elo she'oimed, we understand, achar kosleinu. The absolute revelation is right behind the wall. The reason Hashem's light is not able to reveal itself and express itself through you, the answer is because your avoidance are blocking. I think this maybe is the part in Tanya also. Why is the 80% not the same as 20%? Because it's because when a person does transgressions, he's blocking the light from coming through. The solution is, the advice is, there you go, he is what's it called, the word? Looking from the windows and peeking from the crevices. The distinction between chalon and a charak. What's a chalon? A little hole made in the wall. Harakim are little cracks. Chalon is a much bigger one. So the analogy is, open for me a little what's it called? The point of a needle. To break your heart, to have a broken and contrite heart. All these blockages and coverages. What is it? It is coarseness. You consider yourself as a separate being. Your own desires are more important to you than Chetze Shamayim. So I think that the idea is like this. That Chalon is a big opening, and Charak is a small opening. What's the diuk of the Maimar Chazal, which says, "Open for me a chudah shel machat v'aniftach b'kisra shel olam"? It appears to be saying that you open a small hole and I'll open a big hole. So why do you say pischu pesach koton v'aniftach lachem pesach godel? What's the idea of chudah shel machat? So he says it's dafka opening up a small pinhole. If you open up a big hole, it's not going to work. It's got to be dafka a pinhole. The definition of a pinhole, right? If you want to get, if I want to take my shirt and I want to get something to the other end, if I try to take a blunt stick through there and never go through, why is the needle able to penetrate? Because the needle is sharp. So you pinpoint the nakuda. And so too, when a person wants to get across and raise himself up to a higher level of binding himself to Hashem to get to Zeh, the only way to do so is by having a little pinhole, a nakuda that gets through. And that
I want to share. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I don't know if you mentioned this yet, but I heard a beautiful thing, Mamish, just recently, and forgive me if it was you who said it, but the whole idea of the machat is why a machat? Why did the Rebbe ask why? What people, I forget who asked this. I think it was the Rebbe who said the whole idea is that it is a machat, because the machat means you're going to thread something together. The idea is that we're coming to do Isarusa de Lisata, which creates the Isarusa de Leila. If it was you were coming with a chopstick, there would be no joining. But the idea that we're taking the machat, it's interesting you're bringing up the pinhole, but I heard it recently about it's the machat that really makes the threading, because we're the ones starting the initiative.
The Rebbe has the Roshima, machat is a fascinating Roshima.
Yeah?
What to do with that, yeah.
Amazing.
Anyway, that's what you're talking about there. But the point here he's making is that...
Oh, it was last week with Truma. I'm sorry, yeah. Okay.
The point here is a simple point. When a person is able to get to the nekuda, right? You know what happens when life hits you in the head and you're knocked out and you're on the ground and you're whatever, it's not working out for you. So there's a machat, there's a little machat. You open up a tiny little pinhole. And when you open up a little pinhole, Elokus is able to penetrate. And that means when a person is when he's broken and he gets to he's like, I think when you have Yiddishkeit, you're like, okay, why am I Jewish? Because my parents taught me, and this is what I do, and whatever. There comes a point where you lose. You're so bugged, you're so smashed up by life that you lost everything. So you're like, okay, but what's the nekuda? What does it mean to be a Yid? What does it mean to be a chassid? And the nekuda is this, and then you focus on that nekuda, and you just express yourself. then Hashem opens you a Pesach Shelulam. It's like, if in the Ravashkin story, he describes that moment. It's exactly this. He says, I was working on bitachon for 8.5 years, and finally I get to that moment, and there was no hope whatsoever. That's when I realized I'm totally reliant on Hashem. Is bitachon real or not? And he said, I jump into that space. That's the chudah shel machat, and then you penetrate, boom, and then the miracle is able to come about. So the whole thing is that when you say him, your aveiros block you from Hashem, and now you're able to get through. That's what he's saying before. Then zel menach al kotlein. Gashmius, physicality, is all elokus. Obervos, if a yid is machlif Torah b'chamor, he's not going to see it. So you have to, when you're on fire and looking for elokus, that's when the machlif Torah b'chamor will become elokus. In other words, the pischul nigichudah shlamachan is the way to penetrate into the physicality to transform it into elokus.
Oh, great day.
That's a nakuda. Now, be'im kol anal, and with this all, Yuvan Vivar Hated in Esther. Now, with this, we can explain what is Esther, what is she. So let's go back to the beginning. Wrap it up from here. It says that Esther was petrified to go in front of Achashverosh. And then what does she do? She goes the first time, and then the second time. There was also a third time, by the way. But the first two times, the first time's at the beginning, the second time's all the way at the end. So she says to the king, she went once to ask for Haman to be killed. Well, once to ask him for a feast, right? And then Haman gets killed. She faces the king. The first time she goes in, that's the first scepter. He gives her the Rosh Hashanah. Then she goes in for the first feast. Then she goes in for the second feast. Then she goes in for after Haman is dead, and that's when he gives her the second Shiur. Then she goes in again against Shushan Purim. So what it says is the first time she goes in, the king hands her the tip of the scepter, and the second time the king gives her the whole scepter. So what does that mean? So the pshat is that Esther is a detached, concealed space. Esther has no attachment to Hashem, and that's when the neshama is not connected. The neshama says, "I want to be bound to Hashem." First time around, Hashem says, okay, fine. I'll give you experiences where you can connect yourself to Hashem. That means I'll give you the Rosh Hashanah. In other words, I think the part is, why didn't Esther say at that time, why don't you walk in the first time and just say the whole Megillah and say, Your Majesty, somebody wants to kill me, can you kill him? Right? She didn't. She waited she waited that first time, she risked her life. Then she risked her life again at the first feast. Then she risked her life a third time at the second feast. Why would you do that? And then she risked her life again after Haman is dead to go in again and get the scepter. Every time she's risking her life. Lama. The answer is because Haman's still inside her. She can't do it yet. She's not able to express herself the way she wants to. Which in the Maimer is she hadn't reached this point of chudah shel machat. So she's working on herself to get to the total bittul to Elokus, to Achashverosh. So the story is that the Hashem reveals himself to you on Shabbos and Yom Tov, and the neshama comes out, and the smoke and the all that. That's really what was happening all the time. The neshama is getting close to Hashem. And then how do you get in? You have to dip yourself 6 months of Shem and Amor, which is learning Torah and getting bitter over it. Get into a state of joy. You can get to the king. All that's called the Rosh Hashanah. Now one day, we'll get even higher than that. Because the Rosh Hashanah means that when the Lokus is revealed, it's revealed. When it's concealed, it's not. And the whole point is that the Tzvi turns around and he discovers the Lokus even when it's not revealed. So it's like today. What's happening today is miracles of biblical proportions. If you were standing in Kriyas Yamsuf, what would you say? That's what you're seeing right now. Elamai. You saw the Medrash on Shana Shemelech HaMashiach Niglaboy. When the rabbi came out with what's it called? The story was that there was a guy by the name of what?
The goal right before the goal 4.
Right. So the story was Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Kazin, Alav Shalom. He was the guy who started Chabad.org when they first came out with cyberspace in the early 90s. So he saw this medrash, or someone showed him a medrash. He hung it up in 770. The Yalkut Shemaini. The rabbi came down and he read it. Was hanging on the wall, and he read it. And then he came back, asked about Gordon who put that up. He found out who put it up, so he told him. So he said he didn't quote the whole medrash, quote the next 2 lines also. And the Medrash says that you're the Melech HaMashiach Nigleboy, Melech Paras is Misgara B'Kol U'Misaylam. He wants to kill all the world. And he goes to fight against an Arab king. And Melech Arav, and then it becomes a world war. He fights against all the worlds. And Israel saying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they realize it's going to be decimated. And Abishta makes a big miracle. And we win the war. Hashem says, my children, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Whatever I did for you. And then he says, and then Mashiach, that's that year, Mashiach stands on God base. He says, that's the other two lines. Right? That's the whole part there. So that's a powerful medrash. Now, actually, in that time, it wasn't Melech Paras, it was Melech Babel. Iraq is not Paras. Now it's Melech Paras. And it's like it's real deal. So this is if you saw that medrash, wow, this is it. This is the most.
He's fighting Melech Arab also. He's fighting with Saudi Arabia, with all the other nations.
Yeah,
Kuwait.
yeah, crazy now. Although then he was fighting against Kuwait, but still, yeah. But because I'm saying if you look at that and you see what's going on, you're seeing miracles of the medrash proportions. But why doesn't Hashem make Kriyas Yam Tov for us? So the answer is Kriyas Yam Tov is nothing. Kriyas Yam Tov is essentially you have to make a miracle to make a miracle. And Hashem says, I want to make miracles, then I don't need to make miracles to make miracles. The Purim style is that the nature itself changes. Because there, as long as you are looking for Elokus and you see the Pischa Shel Machat, then the Gashmias becomes holy. So that's what it means that the king says, here, you can have the whole revelation, the whole scepter is all yours. Which means I'm giving you a total revelation. What does that mean? That living in the physical, natural world as you are Elokus. She was Zoyis coming out of the desert. He saw her. Where was she? The first time around, what's a chotzer? Chotzer is the courtyard. So there's chotzer apnimis and chotzer achitzona. She was in the chotzer and the king was in the bais. Even though she says, whoever comes to the chotzer apnimis, achas dasa lehomis. Nonetheless, chotzer apnimis is still not, I mean, it's essentially levels of being attached to Hashem. Ki gam chotzer apnimis the midbar yechoshev neged beis hamelech mamish. So this mizas elam in the midbar. If you're not, no matter what level you're on, you're not absolutely aligned with the divine. If he's a king can't live in a state of permanence. As I miskale he'oras am shocher Hashem. The oz what happens is Vatikra Esther comes close. She gets to the state of yearning for her beloved. No matter how much she gets connected, she has a yearning and a love and a passion for the king. It's all great. But everything she does is only the tip of the sharbit. Then Esther increases. It means she intensifies her relationship with Hashem. It's kind of like when a yid has suffering and struggling. And instead of running away from Hashem, he just gets into a state of total attachment to Hashem. So this time around, she wasn't in the chotzer. She was with the king in the palace because the king brought her inside. She came into the feast and she was already one with him. But she cried and she begged to him, to Hashem. Get rid of this is the other name about this crime. But we did that one. That Haman is gone. She says, he's still affecting me. So why is she crying? The bechia is the machat. There's the chudah shel machat. She's crying to arouse the awesome compassion of which is enclosed in these coarse garments. Haman thought on the Jews. From Haman come these thoughts to the Jews. Then darkness transformed into light. And therefore what happens? It's called a sharbit azov. The king hands her the entire golden scepter. Means that Hashem's energy should shine all the way down here. You should see a revelation of Hashem right here. So she says to him, she says, I'm living in Gashmis, and Haman is still up and about. What does that mean? I still, as much as I know that the God, I know it, and Haman still says to me, but he's still doubting whether it's Hashem's power. He's still doubting the awesomeness of Hashem, right? So I don't know what to do. I still have Amalek inside me. I'm still not confident about it. So where do the Yehudim get these machshavas from Haman inside of us, Amalek? And what's going to happen is, so you cry and you beg Hashem. It means a yid. The crying and the begging is a yid does tshuva. That's the Rebbe's letter about getting rid of Haman. He says, if a yid does tshuva and he is absolutely in a state of total reliance on Hashem, and he realizes nothing else can help me, nobody else can help me, then the darkness becomes light. So the king hands to Esther the entire sharvit. That means the light of Hashem should be able to shine right down here. Esther gets up. What's Vatokam Esther? That's what it is. She doesn't have to have the contrast and getting out of the desert anymore. She's able to stand in front of the king. She's able to be on the highest level in front of him. As it says, but now, the last line, he flips over everything. Means that the woman of valor is the crown of her husband. So the Yid, who's the woman, he's the Makabel, he's the wife, right? When the Yid down here in this world does the Avodah, not pshat that Hashem like, I'll even come down to you. Your Avodah of being a Makabel becomes the ultimate. That Eishes Chayil becomes that Teres Bailo, right? That is the crown of the husband. In other words, the ultimate that the Eibishter wants is that a Yid should be in Olamazeh Agashmi finding Elokus. It's literally all the Mamarim Apurim saying the same exact thing, that Gashmias is godly, and the space that you're in is the best place to be in. And when you let go of expectations and desires and wants and ego and Haman, then Hashem is revealed to you. So that's why this happens in two stages. Stage one is when you need miracles, and that's the golden scepter, the tip of the golden scepter, and you need Shabbos and Yom Tov and experiences. Step two is when the world just aligns with Hashem. Think literally in today's world, with all the things that are going on in such a crazy way, and with AI and whatever and all that, it's just unbelievable. You're mamish seeing Elokus b'muchash in every shot of it. What kind of Purim?
You gotta take Purim along with us. Not count.
Agansio Prida.
Purim every day. No, we got Purim is not going to be this bottle. We Purim a whole year. We have to take this the Purim and translate it into our daily life.
Thank you. You too. Exactly. Yeah. Like the Friedrich Rebbe gave the bracha on Simchas Torah that the Simcha should last the whole year. Simchas Purim should also last the whole year.
Yep.
But it's an avodah, the Shavit Azav. I have the CHS, has a beautiful mimer on the and it translated beautifully, line by line, Rabbi Tauger, I think it was. Unbelievable piece, $10. Unbelievable.
Rabbi, what do you think is the next step over here? When's Mashiach going to be on the Gog of the Har Bayis? When's that?
I really think you got to learn that midrash. And you'll see it. And I'm saying it's not. I don't like all these midrashim. When you bring the midrashim to me, it's like, do me a favor. The thing with this one is that the Rebbe said it.
That gives it a different haskama. I hear.
No, every other man is like, do me a favor. You found something that says this and this and this and whatever. I don't know. But this one, the Rebbe was quoting it. When the Rebbe quotes it, it looks like he said it, and then it's been 37 years or whatever, 35 years since he said it. And suddenly now it's like it's back in full force. So
it's interesting because all these midrashim, the king was much more powerful for us than this one appears. I mean, that's part of the nace, I guess. But
nuclear power doesn't look powerful to you? I think it's pretty powerful.
Does he have it?
They said they were, after last year's thing, they were a week away from getting nuclear power.
We heard those deadlines a long time.
Okay, look, that's part of the miracle. I'm not interested in finding out that they have it, and then something happens. So, yeah.
No, they have it. They were. What do you mean they have it? They have it. They were about to exercise it. They were literally about to do it. I think they were much stronger than any other king you've ever seen. They literally could destroy the world. Look at that.
Let's not forget to thank the Democratic Party for putting them back in a position of power. You know, it's all they.
Yep.
At the same time, you see the Klippa at its strongest also. All right, kol tov. Bye-bye.
Yasher koyach. Thank you so much.